Good afternoon, evening. Hello, everyone. I'm Caitlin Blake. I'm the apartments manager here for Applewood Village. And I'm going to walk you through the housing contract. I know it can be a little bit scary and intimidating. They're like, oh my gosh, this is where I choose where I'm going to live, but also exciting. And at any time, Liz said you can ask questions at any time, please do. But I just want to reiterate too, at any time you're doing the contract, later on, I wouldn't suggest you do it now while we're talking. You can give me a call, you can give housing services a call, and they can help you out. It's never too late. You don't mess anything up. So we're gonna start now. This is hoping that my PowerPoint works. Okay. So some exceptions. So first year students do need to live on campus unless you live within 25 miles of campus with a parent or a close relative. So, you know, if you grew up in Worcester, you want to live at home, that's totally fine. Certainly you can live on campus, but you are not required to do so if you meet that 25-mile radius. If you graduated from high school prior to 2021, so we do require like first year students who have just graduated high school to live on campus. But if you are an older student coming to campus, you would be exempt from living on campus. If you're married or you have children, if you have a previously established independence, or if there's some sort of medical necessity, a financial need, a special hardship, housing services can talk you through that and help you make the best decision for you. The form here is going to be the form that you find on our website. This is an older form, but they look the same every year. So you'll find it on the website if you Google Parent Close Relative Housing Exemption Form. And if you meet one of those exemptions, you should fill this out. You will have to get it notarized and then turn it into housing services. And they are the ones that kind of make the decision whether or not you would be exempt from living on campus. Their email is housing@osu.edu. That's a really great email to keep in the back of your mind. They're in Columbus, but they answer all of those like contract and placement questions. So just a good email to keep handy. So housing contracts are already out for some folks. Like Liz said, if you've paid your acceptance fee, you may have gotten your housing contract already. If you haven't, once you do pay that fee, you'll be able to start this process. But they were emailed starting March 12th, so sometime last week or last week. You can complete them entirely online if you're over 18, which is a really good plus. If you're under 18, that's okay too. There are some pieces that you do need to sign physically, and we'll go over that, but most of it can be completed entirely online, whether you're 18 or under 18. So completing a contract is, like it says, it is a commitment. A contract is a commitment. So if you decide that you no longer want to live on campus because of some other reason, or you decide to not come to ATI, then you would get 50% of the space reservation fee if you canceled prior to June 1st. So kind of June 1st is going to be our magic deadline for a lot of things, but you want to make sure that you're meeting that deadline. Otherwise, you'd be breaking your contract, and you don't want to do that because that comes with hefty fines, and we don't want that. And like Liz said, just another reminder, you must pay your acceptance fee first. So when you get an email from housing, it's going to have a link to housing.osu.edu/livingонcampus/regional. And this is your magic link to go in and start your contract. You'll see this website here, and then that is actually the front of our building. So I don't know how many of you have been to campus before, but this is the front of our main housing building. So once you drive in, you'll see that. And you're gonna look at the different steps 1 through 6. It's really important that you do read the terms and conditions as well as the contract addendum. those are going to be the policies and the rules that you need to follow. And one of those things is going to be the contract termination fee. So as mentioned, if you don't cancel your contract by June 1st, if you no longer want to live here, you would be in violation of like violating your housing contract and would owe $2,000, even if you didn't end up living here. So we want to avoid that. Make sure you read all those terms and conditions and you know what you're signing. We want you here, but we understand things happen too. So number 3 is going to be the link that you will need to access and complete your contract. And you will click on number 3 to start the process. You can read a little bit about some of the room types and things with the different links, but eventually you will want to click number 3. So then it will take you to this page and you'll be like, why? I keep having to log in. It's going to be a theme here. You'll need to go to the right-hand corner, click Login, so right up there. And then again, you'll click OSU Web Login. So again, it kind of seems redundant, but you'll need to log into the different screens there. And then you're going to see this page a lot in your Ohio State career. This is the login page that basically everything that Ohio State has computer-wise, they're going to make you log in here. So you'll always want to use your last name and dot number. If you haven't figured that out already, it's going to be really, really important, and you're going to use it every single day to log into all your things. So last name, dot number, and then your password. And this is the same password you'll use for your email, for logging into Carmen, to logging into all the things. So that is helpful. Same password for everything. Keep that handy. Once you log in, you will see a page that looks like this, and I'm sorry it's a little bit blurry, but up at the top, you're going to click New Student Housing Contract to begin. And then it will take you to this page, which is really helpful. There's actually going to be some videos there that I encourage you to watch. It'll kind of walk you through some of like the payment processes and some of the other things that you might want to know. I know we're going to talk about some of this, but the videos are helpful because they are created by housing services. So they know kind of the back end of this contract a little more than I do. And I encourage you to watch those. So we're going to go next, and we're going to see that we want to apply for academic year 21-22. So just make sure everything is accurate. Make sure it says the correct year and the correct date. Sometimes, you never know about the system, but just make sure everything is correct. It does note here that you just want to make sure all the information that you enter is correct, because you won't be able to return to a previous step. Okay, so if for some reason you enter something wrong, you won't be able to go back. So just make sure you're double checking before you hit next. All right, so we're going to hit apply, all right? And this is going to be what you're signing. So just a couple things to keep in mind. Housing contracts will be accepted as long as space remains. So I believe when you received your contract email, you did have a date that they want you to sign up by. So in here, but the screenshot says offer expiration 2/22. That is the date that you do want to meet, but if for some reason you can't pay the $350 fee right away or whatnot, as long as there is space on campus, we'll get you in. So don't wait, because we can't guarantee that, especially after June 1st. But if you have a special circumstance, let us know, and that will be important. And this is kind of talking about all of the regionals here. So I know it says like Newark campus, then down at the bottom, it talks about ATI and Mansfield campuses. And obviously we're ATI. On the right-hand side here, expected campus of enrollment says ATI. Please make sure that that is correct. Some of you may have applied to other campuses. I'm not sure. But, again, sometimes housing messes up and the wrong campus is selected. So please be sure that it does say ATI. Okay, so the electronic signature, this is where it does get a little bit confusing. the electronic signature is easiest and preferred. If you are over 18, you should do that. Super easy. Everything can be done like in one fell swoop. If you're under 18, you will have to print it out. So if your computer is connected to a printer, that's the best way. You will have to print it out and then upload it back into the system. A good way, if you don't know, if you have an iPhone or maybe even an Android, but I'm not great with Androids, there's a scanning feature on it in the notes section. So don't feel like you need to have like a scanner at your house. You can do that and then send it to your email and have it like uploaded to your computer. Really simple. But you want to just make sure you're reading all of this. You're understanding that the contract is for the full year. So that is for fall and spring. The cancellation deadline is June 1st, like I said, making sure you're reading the terms and conditions, the contract addendum, and also our residential living handbook. So that's going to be, there's a link down there for you to check it out, but that is going to be all of the policies that we expect our residential students to uphold while they are living on campus. So that can tell you everything you wanted to know about not being able to bring a waterbed to campus to how you can bring your dog. So if it is an emotional support animal, just FYI. So check that out. Those are really good resources for you. So the electronic signature decision, if you are over 18 and you want to do it all online, you want to click yes right here. Like I said, easiest part is click yes. If you are like, no, I really like hard copy things, that's totally fine. You would select no, and then you would need to print that hard copy at the end. Okay. And like it says, can't return to that page. So really think about which one you want to do. Okay, so the next section here is going to be pretty simple information, your general info, but it's going to be information that's already pulled from your Buckeye link, which maybe Liz can correct me, I believe is the information that you input when you apply to campus. So if things changed, if your cell phone changed, your gender changed, whatever may have been updated, you can do that through Buckeye Link and make sure all of this information is correct. Is that accurate, Liz?
Yep. They can reach out to us, and if they have information that needs to be changed, we can go ahead and put that information in and put a request in to change that information.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. So just make sure everything is up to date. If not, contact admissions and they'll help you out. All right, so this is something that's in all of the contracts. Hopefully you never go missing. We don't get that a lot, so hopefully you don't go missing, but this is just kind of an emergency contact kind of thing. If you, in the event you had gone missing for more than 24 hours, who should we contact? So you'll want to fill this information out. It's always good to have emergency contact information on file. Okay, the next piece is supplemental concern. So I know a lot of people do call in or are concerned about this. So if you have things like you have to have a single because of a certain accommodation that you have, or maybe you use a wheelchair and you obviously need a downstairs apartment. These are the types of things you want to make sure that you're adding here. Any sort of disability or accommodation should go through ATI's coordinator of disability services, and she can help you with any accommodations, but you want to make sure you're adding it here so housing also knows and can accommodate you with what placement that they give you. Allergies are also really helpful, especially if it's going to be something that impacts your living space. Okay, so then next you're going to be able to select a meal plan if you want. There are 2 meal plan options here at ATI. We don't have the exact cost yet, as each year the prices do change, but you'll be able to see those once they are updated in July. The meal plans are optional, so you don't have to have a meal plan if you are somebody who maybe really loves to cook and doesn't ever, want to get some cheese fries from Cafe Carmen. But if you do want a meal plan, there's Carmen 1 and Carmen 2. And Carmen 2, I believe, is the larger meal plan. So if you eat a lot, you like to have your meals made for you more often, that is the one that you're going to choose. There is a benefit, right, to having the meal plan. You kind of pay an additional cost up front, and then anytime that you purchase something, that cost is going to be 35% less. So you get a discount by using your meal plan at our 2 facilities, which are Cafe Carmen, which is open for breakfast and lunch, and then our CFAS Worcester Science Cafe. I am not positive on their hours, but I do know they make a really great frozen vanilla latte. So good. And so you can even use your meal plan on that, which is great. If you haven't visited us, which you probably haven't because COVID, or if you haven't checked out our spaces online, we do have full kitchens. So your oven, your stove, you would need to use a microwave or bring a microwave, excuse me. But full refrigerators, all of that. So if you like cooking and preparing your own meals, you have the space and equipment to do that. So, and with dining, even if you don't have a meal plan, you can pay out of pocket anytime that you do want to go to the dining hall. So, you know, just keep that in mind. If you have any special dietary restrictions, you can add that here. It's just good to know. So our dining manager is aware if there are people with extenuating allergies on campus. Another thing, so you can add any Buck ID cash or dining dollars to your account if you'd like. You don't have to add them right now by any means. You can add that at any time during the semester. So Buck ID cash can be used for, of course, at dining, vending machines on campus, copy machines, and some off-campus vendors. I believe places like Subway and Gurn Heights Drive-In down the street accept Buck ID, but that list may have changed. But, you know, always a perk to be able to use those Buck ID cash in town. And then your dining dollars are going to be for any student life dining facility at any Ohio State campus. So if you go down for maybe a football game in the fall to Columbus, you can use your dining dollars there at one of the many dining locations in Columbus. So, or if you're visiting maybe a friend on the Newark campus, you can use it there. So it's pretty awesome. And they do roll over from year to year until you graduate. So, you know, if you end up getting a dining plan now and not using a lot of it, you can use it up until you graduate from Ohio State. Okay, so the next section is probably some of those like questions that you're like, oh gosh, this is how they're going to choose my roommate. And they're pretty important questions, and that is what Housing Services does look at when they are choosing who to pair up. So just to be very clear, we don't condone underage drinking at all, but we do understand it may happen on a college campus. So we just ask that you respond truthfully so they can find a roommate that would be a good fit for you. And a good point is just to answer these based on your true self, not your ideal self. So I would love if I was a morning person, but I don't think I was if I was getting a roommate. So just be honest. Do you smoke? Will you be, you know, drinking? Do you like having overnight guests? This year that was not possible with COVID, but we don't know what the future holds. And then some of the questions would be like, I am a morning person. I typically sleep how many hours a night? So choose what is best for you and what you truly, you know, will do. I think people joke that a lot of college students are night owls and they like to sleep in. That is fact. But I also know some people are up at 4 a.m. milking cows also. So kind of think about your lifestyle and what you're going to be doing when you get here. The bottom question there is a space to kind of write a short description of yourself. So maybe what you're going to be studying, things you like to do, any other interests you have. Maybe you really love dogs and anime, I don't know, but put that there and then people can search for keywords to maybe find a roommate that matches up with their interests. So anything that describes you and what you like to do is really helpful in that description. So the roommate request information. Only first-year students will be able to add other first-year students in the roommate group system, okay? If for some reason you know, like say a sophomore here at ATI and you want to live with them, you'll want to email housing@osu.edu and let them know, and they can help make that happen. But roommate stuff is not happening until May. So that begins May 10th and goes until June 1st. Again, that June 1st deadline is the absolute last day to be able to like choose your roommates. Otherwise, everything's going to be random, which does end up being fun a lot of the time. Roommate requests are optional, like I said, but they do have to be mutual. So if you have some friends that you want to live with, maybe coming from your high school, just make sure that you're communicating with them and everybody knows that everybody wants to live with each other. One person should be like the head of the roommate group, and they will be able to create a roommate group, and then the others will be able to join that roommate group. So that process is not open yet, but you will get an email and be able to log in and view all of that starting May 10th. And like I said, June 1st, June 1st, June 1st, can't make changes after that date. So make sure everybody is on board and checking their email. So like I mentioned, if you're the first of your friend group to access your contract, you'll be the one to create that roommate group. You'll want to call it something fun, have a password, and then you'll let everybody that you want to live with know about that login and password so they can all accept your like roommate request. So you may only request to live with roommates of the same gender as noted on your Buckeye link. So if you do identify as trans, please be sure that the gender you select is the one in which you will be housed with. So this is just a little smaller screenshot of the roommate group create. So you'll want to do that if you're the first person to access it. And you'll have all the power to accept or deny people. But like I said, you'll want to communicate with any friends or people that you do hope to live with. So if you don't know anybody, that's totally fine too. Plenty of people come to college without knowing anyone, without knowing who they're going to live with. And sometimes those end up being the best roommate matches of all. But maybe you do want to find people that like some of the same things as you. Maybe you're really into video games and you want, you know, a house full of guys that play video games. Great. Try searching some of those like descriptive words and see who you may come up with. That's why it's going to be really important that you type your interests in so you all can find each other on there. Okay, so then the part you've probably been very excited for, you do get to rate which type of apartment that you would prefer. So it does not guarantee that you will get that, unfortunately, but it helps Columbus see what kind of spaces are wanted, who wants to live where, and if they can accommodate, they will. The earlier you contract, the better results you may get. So if you have been sent the link after this, you know, go home, fill out your contract, and then you'll be set. So we do have 2-bedroom for 4. So that's 2 people living in each of the 2 bedrooms. That's probably going to be our most popular space. We do have 2-bedroom for 5. That means one of the bedrooms houses 3 people. So that's a little bit tighter, but this year we did not do that with COVID. So that may be something that they hopefully keep for next year, but I don't know for certain. There is a 3-bedroom for 5. So one of those bedrooms is a single, the other 2 are doubles. So that means 2 people live in the other 2 bedrooms each. And then there is a 1-bedroom for 2. This is not shown here because they were just, it's just a screenshot of that. We don't have very many 1-bedroom for 2 people. However, if that is something you're interested in, like I said, the earlier the better. Typically returning students do try to get those. because just living with one other person sometimes can be better for people. But again, if that's something that you require, in an accommodation, you're going to want to have put that in your supplemental concerns a couple steps back, remember. But you'll want to rank them the order that you'd like them. I will say most first years probably do get the 2-bedroom for 4, but please rank, what you would like, and they'll see what they can do. The next section is just a little 2 questions. So allies for diversity, you can select yes or no. That just indicates if you are eager to share knowledge and kind of discuss topics of diversity, inclusion, and multiculturalism in your community. It doesn't really affect too much your housing, but just something to be aware of that you will have to answer. And then you would want to select if you would like a roommate who identifies as an ally. So if that is not important to you, you can click no. If that is really important to you, please check yes. Learning communities do not exist at ATI, so it does not ask about those specifically here. So additional personal information, you'll want to notice what gender is noted in Buckeye Link, the sex you were assigned at birth, and your gender identity, as well as your preferred pronouns. So this is going to help housing match you with the gender you feel most comfortable in, and make sure that everything is accurate when you do fill that out. If you have questions about that, certainly please call. If you don't know what your pronouns are, I always suggest like Googling and figuring that out, or call and ask and we can help you work through some of those questions. So vaccination requirements. So this gets very confusing, I will say. The requirements for Columbus students living in housing are different than the ATI students living in housing. So the students who live in housing at ATI only have to have the meningitis shot. If you have the others, awesome, great, perfect. You can mark where you are on those 2 things. But you only have to prove that you had the meningitis shot for ATI. Why? I am not sure, but that is where we're at. So it'll ask you those 2 questions here, and then we'll show you a little bit about vaccination in a couple slides. So the next thing is understanding that you are responsible for your own personal property. So this is a good reminder that you should have renter's insurance. So whether that is a rider on your parents' home, or just getting renter's insurance through maybe your car insurance company or through another company. I use a company called Lemonade. It's really simple, and it's not much a month. And it just protects you in case of a flood, maybe something leaks, maybe there's some kind of fire or smoke damage, I don't know. But just really important to note that the university does want you to have that renter's insurance. The next question is if you are a sex offender or not. Please make sure you're reading that carefully, because if you answer it incorrectly, it's going to not let you go back to change it. So you would have to contact housing if you answer that incorrectly. If that does apply to you, you would not be able to live on campus, but you can talk to housing about some of your other options. So just make sure you're reading that and selecting yes or no. Okay, so then you are going to kind of get a kind of overview of everything that you've entered so far. Your name, your information, what contract you have. So you're going to have regional. The academic year, it's going to say that this is a legal binding agreement, that I agree with all of this. And this is where you can digitally sign if you are over 18. Okay, so if you are not over 18, this is where you would print the signature page. Okay, so hit print signature page. If you, like I said, you can use like the scan feature on your phone if you need to do that, but just be aware of that. So if you do need to print it, you will have a couple options. So print it, sign it with a pen, and then you can upload it here on this next screen. Super easy. If you have electronically signed it, great, then you are good to go. It does note that digital signatures won't be permitted. So I know sometimes like on an iPad, you could sign with an Apple Pencil. I do not think they are allowing that. You would need to sign it like after you've printed it versus like on the screen. Okay, so if you have, there's two options here, I guess. If you have signed your contract via electronics, you're over 18, you signed it, awesome. Now is your chance to pay. And then you can kind of finish everything out. If you had to upload it, or if you didn't want to upload it and you wanted to mail it in, that is fine too. You can do that. You just need to wait for housing to accept that. Okay, so that might be a few days until you can go back in and pay. If you have digitally signed it, you would be accepted right away, and you can go and check out and pay your fee. So there is an undergraduate filing fee, so that's $50 for everybody. You do not get that $50 back. That is like the contract filing fee. And then the $300 is your space reservation fee. That is what you would get half of back if you choose to cancel before June 1st. So just be aware of that. And the $2 fee is to basically pay online. So your total is going to be $352, which we recognize is a good chunk of money. And it is something you would have to pay out of pocket and not through like loans, because you are paying like directly on here. So just something to keep in mind there. You would fill out all this information just as you would make a transaction online. Make sure everything is correct, select your card type, and all of that will be submitted. Pretty easy to go through those steps. You'll see it once it's on your screen. If you do want to mail your contract in and pay via check or money order, you can do that actually and send it all in the same envelope to Housing Services to this address here, 350 Morrill Tower, 1910 Cannon Drive. And all that will be online for you. So if you prefer to mail that check, you may do that as well. Or you can just pay online, whichever is easier for you. So it will tell you if your payment is successful. Awesome. Maybe take a picture of this or keep this page for future reference, just so you're like, I paid, I know I did this, it is all good. And that is really important. So you will receive an email confirmation when everything is good. So as I kind of mentioned before, you're going to need that Buckeye Mail login, and you should be checking your Buckeye Mail frequently, anytime, you know, but they are going to send you an email when your housing contract has been processed and you're good to go. If you ever have any questions, you're welcome to call and we can look that up for you. But the email is going to be that confirmation that you are set in their system. And you can always call that number on the screen there. That is Housing Services number, and they can help you as well. I would also print a copy of this if you're connected to a printer again, just to have and just know that you are set. So I know I talked about vaccinations a couple minutes ago. Like I said, regional students only need to be vaccinated with the meningitis shot. If you are, going to be commuting, you actually do not need to submit your vaccination records. And all vaccination stuff is actually handled by Student Health Services. So while we require that for living on campus, it is totally through Student Health, and that is their website right there. The forms button, as you can see, is going to be where you find, let me go back, I'm sorry, where you find that form to complete the shot and have like your medical provider sign that. Under the forms, you would want to select vaccination requirement. It's at the bottom of the list here. and then choose which one applies to you. So for us, it is going to be vaccination requirement, housing only students. So that's the one you're going to pick. If you have a medical exemption, you can use that form certainly. Or if you have a non-medical exemption, perhaps a religious exemption or something, and that applies to you, you may use that form. But typically, if you do have the shot, you would use that vaccination requirement, housing only students. Okay. And then you'll go back to that Student Health Services website and you'll log in and you can upload your information there. You can also email your form to vaccination@osu.edu. You can mail your form in. There's lots of options. Uploading it probably honestly is the easiest way, just because you can upload it and have it there and it'll be good to go. But if you're not super tech savvy, feel free to mail your form or email it as well. And those steps will also be shown on your vaccination form. So don't feel like you have to remember all of that. And this screenshot right here just shows you where you can upload a document. So this is helpful. Document upload, and then you'll see the forms in My Forms. So one last little thing here. This is something that is on the website, but also pretty helpful. So these are the steps. Before June 1st, you're gonna watch your email, you're gonna complete your contract, you're gonna pay that fee, watch for your confirmation email as I mentioned. May 10th, you're gonna wanna create and join those roommate groups if you'd like, and make sure that all your roommate groups are verified by June 1st. So this is all before June 1st coming up. After June 1st is when kind of the fun stuff begins. You'll watch your email again in mid-July. You'll receive your assignment. So that'll tell you which apartment you're going to be living in, what kind of apartment, and who your roommates are and their contact information. And that's when you'll kind of get excited to meet those folks. You'll also get information later in the summer about move-in and that process, and then also how to schedule a move-in time in August. So all of that information will be forthcoming for you after June 1st. So expect it late July, early August, but that's always an exciting day to receive your roommate matches, and you'll know, what street you're living on here in the village. So it is time for questions. This is my contact info. Please feel free to take a picture of that or whatnot. Certainly I am on email at any time and can answer any questions. This is the number to our housing office, and students are always working the desk and they can usually help you with a lot of questions, or they will send you off to me. So I see that we have a couple chats in here. Yes. Oh, sure, Liz. Sorry, I did not see that before. Does anyone have any questions? You're welcome to say them out loud or chat them, and I'm happy to see what I can answer. Can I have my car on campus? Oh, yep, great question. Yes, you can. That is really awesome because here the parking is free. We have plenty of parking here in the village and on campus, and most people bring their car. So yes, you can. Do you have to fill out an application every year? Great question. So if you do want to live on campus for your second year, that process actually just happened for our second years a couple weeks ago. So you basically do like a renewal, and they kind of pick first, and then the first year students go and choose. So you will have to do some sort of application each year you want to live on, but it's a little less extensive your second year. Are the apartments co-ed? No, they are single gender in the apartments, but your next door neighbor in the apartment next door may be a different gender than you. So you would only be able to live with those that you identify with, but the streets are all mixed with everybody. If you've not received your application yet, make sure that your acceptance fee is paid. And then I think they usually send out the contract links on Fridays. So maybe check tomorrow to see if you received it. If not, you can always email housing@osu.edu and check on it. But definitely check your email tomorrow because I think they don't send them every day. It's more like in batches. So good question. How much is the apartment going to cost for the year? That's a great question. So those rates are going to be set in July. This year, it is approximately $4,000 a semester. It depends, it fluctuates a little bit depending on which space you get, like how many rooms in the apartment and that kind of thing. And it is all paid for through like your Buckeye link, just as you pay tuition, it's all on there. So if you're doing like a payment plan, say for tuition, you could do the payment plan for housing. So you're not like necessarily paying rent each month. It is just tacked onto your bill for the semester. The meal plan details. So you know what, that's a great question. I'm not sure if the amounts are there. I do know that Carmen 1 is going to be the smaller of them and Carmen 2 is the larger. But I will say you can always change your meal plan even as the semester begins. So if for some reason you find out the costs in July and you're like, oh gosh, this is not what I signed up for, or oh my gosh, like I need more food, you can always change that. But I don't have the amount offhand. Maybe someone says.
I'm going to throw in the chat. I actually just threw in the chat the PowerPoint from tonight. So if you guys are wanting to download this so that you have it for reference at a later time, it's sitting in the chat. And then I'm also going to throw in here just our view book because it does give like an estimate and a breakdown of costs for both tuition and housing. And then it also has information in there about Carmen 1 and Carmen 2 and what those costs are as well.
August, that's a good question. We don't have health services on campus. There are a lot of places in town that are really close, urgent cares, the hospital, but we don't have any health services on campus. In Columbus campus, there is student health services, but not on the ETI campus. Laura, that's a good question. Maybe you could answer that, Liz, if they're able to come up and see campus.
Very, very soon. I think Dave might jump in here on this one too. We are hopefully here soon. I'm going to let Dave talk about this a little bit since he's the director of ATI, our admissions office. So he's going to chat a little bit about on-campus visits and what that looks like.
So Laura, we're getting there. For official visits, we are not accepting those yet. However, we just received permission to allow visitors back to campus. So we're having to put together a plan on what that's going to look like and how often, those types of things. However, I will say, if you are just interested in driving to Worcester to check out the town or check out the campus in general, you're more than welcome to come and drive around, take a look through campus and those types of things. I will say the buildings, we're still not officially accepting visitors in the buildings, but you're more than welcome to drive through, for example, the Gray Drake Agricultural Laboratory. You can drive through campus, you can drive past the apartments, you can go through the Arboretum, those types of things. So, but I will also just mention that we will make some announcements here probably in the next 2 weeks or so about what our plan is for allowing visitors to come on campus. But yes, I'm very hopeful that that will happen very soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. Any other questions? These were all great. Good question. So laundry is actually free now, so you don't need a card or coins. So that is a perk. Our laundry is located right in our housing office building, and all laundry is just first come, first serve. So that is nice. Save your coins for those snacks in the vending machine.
One other thing that I want to point out in the chat, Dave threw in the chat a little bit earlier, the contact for disability services. So if someone needs an accommodation, Ruth Mons' contact information is back here. I'll go ahead and copy that again and post that back in there so that you guys have access to it, so you don't have to go looking for it. But if you do need accommodations, feel free to reach out to Ruth, and she will be there to assist you with providing those accommodations for when you're on campus at ATI. All right, well, if there's not any other questions, we'll wrap up here and get you on with your evenings. But last call for questions. If you have those, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. But with that said, we'll wrap up here quickly. I'll take a second here and wait for any questions if they come in. But Caitlin's contact information is there as well. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to any of us in the admissions office. We'll try our best to help answer any questions that you might have about what's left to do in your process. Feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're happy to help. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I hope you got a lot of information that will be helpful for you all. Go through the final steps in your process. The light at the end of the tunnel is near, and you're really excited that you'll be here with us in the fall. But thanks so much for joining us. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.